You know, when a character is named after a concept or a word, usually over time, that word stops being a word and just becomes a name, right? You forget its meaning and its existence outside of the person it represents. Then you get a character like Absolute Bane, and suddenly, you remember exactly what that word means. Hey, it's me, Jesse C. Joker is Batman's antithesis, right? But Bane is his equal. Smart, cultured, resourceful, and a hulking beast. An intellectual match as well as a physical one. That's Bane. That's something that Absolute Bane maintains and goes further with. The idea of the Absolute comics is to take beloved characters, keep their core untouched, but then put them in worse situations, and see what comes out of it, right? Usually, the outcome is a character that is much like the original, but much more amped up. Diana had one lasso? Well, now she has 3 or 4. I forgot how many. I think it's like 3. Batman was strong? Well, now he's the size of a really tall, strong man. Standing on the shoulders of another really tall, strong man. The covering looks different, exciting and new, but when you take a bite, oh, it's still that same wonderful nostalgic taste. The best of both worlds. But the cover isn't just flavoring. The way it interacts with the core also leads to new stories and possibilities. So it isn't just pretending to be fresh, it is fresh. Since Absolute Batman is kind of still in the beginnings, this is the perfect moment to introduce a character that is, to all intents and purposes, a dark mirror of Batman. Something that makes him question the path that he's on and if it is the right choice. Hence, the second big Absolute Batman arc, Abomination. I feel like I chose the wrong image for this. No, let me try it again.
Abomination.
Okay, that's more like it, right? Like, look at it. Like, it hurts your eyes to look at it, doesn't it? Like, it looks like some kind of, like, Lovecraft thing. That's how I imagine Lovecraft stuff would look like if you actually saw it, because it's really hard to even just grapple what the hell you're looking at. Not like this. Like, this is good. This is very easy and recognizable, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at it, it's great. I love looking at that. This, I don't like looking at this. This is awful. It's unsettling. This I like. This is good. What were we talking about again? Abomination. So, Bane. Usually big guy, injects some steroids, gets even bigger, BDSM styled, simple, right? But how do we take this further? Oh, well, what if he got bigger? And bigger? And bigger? What if he was an uncontrollable pool of flesh? What if he was literally Tetsuo? Like, he's literally Tetsuo. Like, they fight in a big stadium at the end where he becomes then an uncontrollable, cancerous, body horror, grotesque monster. Anyway, they took a small part of his power set and really amped it up into a horrifying thing that also ties into his concept and his role in the story, as it's an idea that flows from Absolute Batman's theme of fear. As Scott Snyder says, Batman is someone who suffers a nightmarish trauma and then devotes himself to confronting every fear possible. He exists to make us brave in the face of the things we're afraid of. His whole construction is that the world punches him and he punches back, and that's it. It's about being brave. What do I think is the scariest thing right now? Batman goes right at it. So that whole theme, fear, lends itself visually very easily to horror. Also because, you know, Scott Snyder did used to write horror. Look at this guy! And when it comes to Bane, that lends itself very easily to body horror. Joker and the main villains of the Absolute line are all rich and powerful people. The billionaires and the technocrats that both in that world and ours are the real monsters, the real villains. The ultimate avatars of the greed and corruption that is so endemic and representative of our political and social systems right now. But Bane's not one of them. In fact, he's quite the opposite, and quite tragic because of it. Because he represents something close to home for us, the readers. Because it's unlike any of us will ever be anything more than peasants slaving away for our betters, right? Which is part of the conceptual horror that Bane represents. He is like us. He's somebody that is used as a tool by his rich overlord. He is Joker's little errand boy, his fixer, his assassin, his wage slave, his employee. The horror! What's even more tragic is that Bane wasn't like this before. He used to want to make things better, to rage against the machine, and yes, it's a purposeful reference, pay attention. Bane comes from Santa Prisca, a small country that has been fighting against colonial meddling for a long time. He belonged to a band of revolutionaries that was led by his father, and they were all eventually captured. When they finally made their way out, Bane met Joker by the beach, and the monster billionaire offered him a deal. Bane, after witnessing the miserable failure of his father in People's Revolution and suffering years of imprisonment, 11 years by the way, acquiesced to the Joker, agreed to listen to the billionaire as long as his country and people were kept safe. By the way, I love the little detail that when he kills his father, his eyes, which were normal before, then turn the classic Bane red. Like, it's such a cool little detail. Bane is what Batman is constantly being challenged by. The fact that it is so much easier to keep your head down and do as you're told, enjoy the crumbs you are given, and be a part of the system. Hell, it's the smart choice. Empirically, materially, the better option. The first arc of Absolute Batman has Bruce face the same problem as Bane when Black Mask offers him insane funds to not even stop his crusade, but just keep it pointed away from their betters. Batman refused and won, but that's an offer that never stops being tantalizing, and it's an offer that only gets more so as the consequences of not bending the knee get worse and worse, as we see in Abomination. Sure, Bruce is fine suffering for the cause, but is he fine making others suffer for it too? Bane is ultimately making the same offer as Black Mask, but one without the leeway the previous one afforded. Bruce is to be Bane's replacement, the new Bane, which will ultimately be able to keep Gotham safe because he will have the same deal as Bane has with the Joker. Work for me, I keep your home safe, so that Bane can finally be free. And I love that Alfred in narration here uses the phrase to become the hero Gotham needs, because Absolute Alfred is always wrong, and also it's a reference to the movies, which is fun. Alfred here acts, like in his other incarnations, as the voice of reason. He's very level-headed and cautious. He always argues that compromising can make Bruce stronger, which, to be fair, is not unreasonable and actually a very sensible thing to say. Take the money, use the venom, pick your battles, is what he always says. But that's horribly wrong. It's the exact opposite type of thinking that the absolute heroes need. Compromise can be good, a way to meet in the middle, resolve conflict without bloodshed. But that only happens when it's done in good faith. Otherwise, it can be easily abused. It can cause you to overlook current evil in the name of peace, and it can also be easily abused by bad actors to slowly subvert and poison people and systems, like some did in history during the fall of the Roman Republic, or the fascists did at the start of the past century, or others are doing nowadays. So a place like the Absolute Universe doesn't need compromise or caution. It needs bold, courageous, uncompromising good. Good that isn't content to just sit back and watch evil unfold. This is a very consistent theme in the Absolute label, and part of the reason why it's so popular when you consider the current socio-political climate the world is in right now. Unlike with Black Mask, this deal takes away Bruce's agency, and comes under a threat of "I will do worse than kill everyone you love." Bane is doing to Bruce what was done to him. They are the same goddamn person. The point is that the conceptual horror of Bane is that loss of control, that inevitable conformity to the inherent evil of your environment. Which is the metaphorical breaking of the back here, right? It goes back to the whole Nightfall thing, but it's more symbolic here to breaking someone's will. You're one to fight. You're a spirit of rebellion person. In the Absolute Universe, that evil is because the arc of the universe literally bends towards evil because of Darkseid's influence, and in ours, that evil is because of, well, capitalism. It's capitalism. Also imperialism. Anyway, Bane's venom makes him big like in the OG incarnation of the character, but makes him way more monstrous than the original. It isn't that comic thing where the character size just increases almost like magic. No, here, it's like the American Werewolf in London transformation scene. It's visceral, real, bones extend, muscles bulge. The man looks like a thing straight out of a horror game. Or the hit superhero web serial Worm. Go read it. The body horror of all this is directly tied into the conceptual horror we just talked about, of being a cog in the machine without agency. In what way? By being a physical representation of it. Bane doesn't own himself. Not only can he not go where he pleases and not do as he pleases, his body is also not his. It's property of the Joker, a vessel for experimentation and a tool for dirty work. The fear that Bane represents is something that every evil regime in history has used to keep people in line. The fear of losing the little you have, which ends up with you giving literally everything you have, moral, self-determination, etc., as long as it's no one you know getting nailed to the cross, or sent to a camp, or deported out of the country. It's just best to keep your head down. But there is no win in there. Just a slower loss that is imperceptible at first until it isn't. as it is made clear by the end of the arc as Joker nukes Bane's country and family, ridding Bane of the only thing he had, but he never actually had anything, because as long as he needed permission to have it, then it wasn't really his. Now, even that has been taken away, and he is now owned completely by J.K. Holdings. And just in case you somehow missed all this, the Abomination arc also spells it out with the B-plot in the past, being thematically the same thing, but with Waylon Jones' boxing match against Bibbo. To go over it very quickly, Bibbo good, Waylon maybe not as good. Selena and Bruce fix the match with Falcone so that Waylon can win a little bit but then lose and they all get rich. Waylon says, "F that, I can do it, just believe in me bro, believe me bro. Bro, you gotta believe me, bro. Bro, I can do this, bro. But not without you, bro. I need you, bro. Bruce believes in bro, and bro beats Bebo. I like that alliteration. Which then parallels with Bruce's own fight with Bane, as he himself, despite being almost broken by Bane, breaking bro's buddies, decides that no, fuck that, fuck the systems, fuck Bane, we doing this. Which, just a small aside, I feel like he couldn't have done without the support of his friends. However they feel about him right now, his mother, the Red Hood gang who are fighting the same fight as Bruce in their own way, and Selena coming back to show she still cares. That's the one crucial difference between Bane and Bruce, I think. They are similar in all aspects, but this, Bruce still has people in his corner, despite it all, people who are also encouraging him to fight on, and who believe in the same things like his mother. Even Alfred, who wanted him to use the venom and fight in the same way that their enemies do, still never discouraged him from just fighting. It's also what got Waylon to win his fight, the support of Bruce. And the support of Waylon and everyone else is what gets Bruce to win his, because taking down a monster like Bane required a lot of teamwork. And so Absolute Batman beats his and our fears by breaking Absolute Bane. And then fucking dumping his carcass into the ocean. Jesus man, holy shit. He was angry. But of course, Bane doesn't die, because it's not up to him if he does. It's up to the Joker, because Bane belongs to him. Now, this concept around Bane is good and all, but for it and the theme around the issue to work, it needs to sell that hopelessness, and that pushes all the characters to choose to acquiesce. It needs to imbue the reader with those emotions, which gets us into how shocking and an absolute fucking bummer this whole story is. Like, at one point, I genuinely feared what that meant going forward. Nothing was safe anymore, anything could happen. The story had real stakes, not the artificial stakes that a lot of mainline comics have. It's the kind of thing you can only really get with absolute artistic freedom, which is one of the best things about the Absolute comics. You can feel how the writers are allowed to just run with their vision, and it works because the writers are just as good. Because that kind of freedom can sometimes backfire when a writer's a bit of a weirdo. But everyone here is good. Anyway, after that horrible beating that Bane gave the Crime Alley gang, and just Bruce himself being held against his will and tortured physically and emotionally and psychologically for months, then it turned not into a certainty that anyone would make it out alive. Worse, it also established that death is not even the worst outcome. Torture, permanent chronic pain, anything else, it's all in the cards now. Like, Bruce's body was surgically and permanently altered. Look at him from before this arc to now. Sure, he ultimately removed the venom, but I don't think those scars are healing anytime soon. Same for the Crime Alley gang. They are alive, sure, but it's to the point where you genuinely have to ask, would it be better for them if they weren't? They look fucked up and changed physically forever. The relationship with Bruce also permanently has that black mark that's never gonna go away. Also, can I just say how much I love this little phrase here? If it's any consolation, I only hate you half the time, coming from Two-Face is so good. Such good writing. Hell, even Bane's backstory wouldn't be as effective if the man hadn't been in prison for 11 fucking years. With this in the family, he had fall apart horribly. The hopelessness and the despair that drips out of this arc is real and pointed. But that's the thing with Absolute Comics. They are edgy, but only stylistically. They are not nihilistic, like, say, Garth Ennis' work. If you can't tell by now that I don't like his work. Every horrible thing that is done, it's done in favor of the story and the characters, of the theme and the message, and the whole idea behind the universe. You know, the deepest shadows cast the brightest lights. That's the whole idea, right? And a horrible, evil world that makes the heroes shine even brighter. Bruce's eventual win is that much more impactful and satisfying because of how grueling the journey to get there is, and how you are genuinely made to feel that surrendering the ideal might just be for the best, might be a necessity if not an inevitability. Also, another thing that makes this issue really good, and also has been making a lot of Absolute comics great, that I don't see a lot of people praise enough, is the laying of mini arcs ahead of time. You can feel how that improves the storytelling immensely. It's a timer, a limit, that makes writers plan things ahead so much better. It's very common in comics for you to start reading a series, a title, and be like, when's this gonna get going? It feels like we're kind of just meandering, and there isn't a lot of points. The mini arc setup is great to avoid that. It is also cool as a reader because it's a signifier of how long something's going to go on for, and to possibly be patient as the climax is indeed on the horizon. Anyways, that's Absolute Bane and Abomination. Like and subscribe, and I will see you later. But I gotta say, reading this arc was a little bit confusing for me because for some reason I somehow managed to skip an entire issue. So I went from Batman being captured by Bane underneath the lab of Arkham to suddenly he has escaped with a crocodile whaling. I was like, wow, that's a big thing to do in between issues. And, you know, I went to Comic-Con recently and I got autographs by Nick Dragotta and Frank Martin, and something that Nick said has stayed with me because I was, you know, talking to him as he was doing the autographs and stuff, and I said, I love what you guys are doing with Bane, you know, it's very creepy and very f***ed up. And he just laughed and said, it's very fun to do. Which has cemented to me in my mind that Nick Dragotta is a fucking psychopath. What do you mean it's fun? It hurts my eyes to look at those panels. They are so fucking creepy. Look at them! What is this? Man, I hate those panels, and that's why I love them so much, because I hate them, because he looks so fucking disgusting, and that man said he had fun doing this.
Step back! We'll not tolerate drowning here.
Don't worry, we're here to save the day. Also because it's someone's birthday. No! Not in the lava! No! Bitch!
That's that.